Biden has lost his patience with the unvaccinated. His solution? Federal vaccine mandates. And he's ready for a fight. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Federal vaccine mandates are unnecessary and would never happen. That's a campaign promise from President Joe Biden.
Do you think both vaccines should be mandatory?
No, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory.
And that was backed up by Press Secretary Jen Psaki as recently as July. Here's her response to a question about whether the federal government would mandate vaccines.
That's not the role of the federal government. That is the role that institutions, private sector entities, and others may take.
Even the director of the CDC said no to federal vaccine mandates, as well as our boy, Dr. Anthony Fauci. In fact, back in 2020, Dr. Fauci even said that if someone refuses the vaccine in the general public, you cannot force someone to take it. So no, Biden isn't going to force a federal vaccine mandate. There's been a lot of crazy conspiracists saying he would, but that's simply false. What's that, Shelley? Oh, it now seems we have federal vaccine mandates. This is fantastic news. America needs vaccine mandates. After all, vaccine mandates are an American tradition. Of course, previous vaccine mandates were imposed by cities and states, not the federal government. But no, this is good. After all, a lot has changed since Biden campaigned back in 2020. Today, we are faced with a spike in new COVID variants, although each wave of infection so far has been less deadly than the original. Also, there was the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. Anyway, Biden announced his COVID-19 action plan, and he wants you to know he is most displeased with the unvaccinated.
My message to unvaccinated Americans is this. What more is there to wait for? What more do you need to see? We've made vaccinations free, safe, and convenient. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us. So please do the right thing.
Yep, the White House is done with persuasion. Because why go through the hassle of convincing people when you can just make them do whatever you want for their own good? According to senior aides and close allies, Biden felt he had little choice but to call for more aggressive steps. This MSNBC analyst loves Biden's angry dad vibes. I think he might have some daddy issues. Or some granddaddy issues. Anyway, a Democrat from Arizona said, "This is leadership. He's doing what needs to be done to beat COVID-19. No ifs, ands, or buts." Unfortunately, the stupid U.S. Constitution limits the power of the federal government and ensures states' rights. And Republican governors are trying to get in Biden's way. At least 21 Republican-led states are in open rebellion. And Biden isn't having any of it.
Let me be blunt. My plan also takes on elected officials in states that are undermining you and these life-saving actions. If these governors won't help us beat the pandemic, I'll use my power as president to get them out of the way.
Our patience is wearing thin. Governors, get out of the way. It's awesome to hear a U.S. president talking like that. I'm so glad American democracy was saved from that dictator Trump. But this is just the beginning. More after the break. Welcome back. There is a growing rebellion against Biden's vaccine mandates in Republican-led states. As of this recording, a little over 60% of the entire U.S. population is vaccinated with at least one dose, and 3/4 of American adults have at least one dose. Still, the U.S. is falling behind other countries. Some people, for various reasons, aren't taking the vaccines. Who are they? Well, it's not just Republicans. Young people and minorities are less likely to get the vaccine. The truth is, there is no one answer. I'm sorry. The answer is to force them all to get the COVID vaccine. To combat the pandemic, the Biden administration laid out a 6-pronged strategy. These steps involve preparing booster shots, increasing COVID test kit production, and providing funds for schools and small businesses struggling to open because of COVID. They also require vaccinations for all federal workers, healthcare workers, and contractors who do business with the federal government. Legally speaking, the government can generally regulate its own employees or for institutions it funds with Medicaid and Medicare dollars. The big controversy is the way Biden is treating private businesses. Unfortunately, the stupid U.S. Constitution limits the government's control over private businesses. But President Biden has found a loophole, just like how he found a loophole to encourage Facebook to censor. Biden's COVID plan requires all employers with 100 or more employees to ensure that their workers are vaccinated or tested weekly. Businesses that don't comply can face fines of up to $14,000 per violation. Wait, how can he do that? According to the Wall Street Journal, the federal government can't impose a nationwide blanket requirement to get vaccinated to engage in certain activities. Vaccination requirements for private individuals are the purview of states and municipalities. Well, let's listen to constitutional expert Rachel Maddow.
This is not some new dictatorial power he's assuming. This is how the government works. Wake up.
And she's right. This is how the government works. The government works by finding loopholes to grab power they aren't meant to have. There's a little thing called the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA. It's a regulatory agency that's part of the Labor Department. Think of OSHA like the FDA, but instead of regulating food and drugs, it regulates safety standards for businesses. OSHA has something called Emergency Temporary Standards. It can set emergency temporary standards if workers are in grave danger due to exposure to toxic substances or agents determined to be toxic or physically harmful, or to new hazards. You mean like the coronavirus? That's totally what you mean, right? It's basically a presidential decree that uses a bureaucratic process in the executive branch to sidestep the legislative process through Congress, which, is supposed to be the one that makes new laws. So, this is all done and dusted, right? Nothing can stop Biden's vaccine mandate. Well, it turns out Biden is in for a fight. I'll get to how the right reacted after the break. Welcome back. So Biden has sidestepped Congress to create a vaccine mandate for any company with over 100 employees. And let's just say, he's not stopping there. But many Republicans are not too happy. Ted Cruz said the vaccine mandate ignores science and is an attack on Americans' right to privacy. And here's former Vice President Mike Pence.
I have to tell you, the president's speech yesterday was unlike anything I'd ever heard from an American president. I mean, to have the president of the United States say that he's been patient, but his patience is wearing thin. That's not how the American people expect to be spoken to by our elected leaders.
You mean the president isn't supposed to talk to us like an angry daddy? We clearly want different things, Mr. Pence. But many Republican governors are threatening to sue Biden. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster said they would fight Biden to the gates of hell. Just to the gates? Come on, man, go all the way. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said he's issuing an executive order to let people choose whether to get vaccinated. Texas is big on my body, my choice. The Republican National Committee will sue the Biden administration, according to their chairwoman. And here's Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
How could we get to the point in the country where you would want to have someone lose their job because of their choice about the vaccine or not? I mean, look, some folks have reasons to do. Maybe they're making the wrong decision, but to put them out of work and send them and not let them earn a living because of this, I just think that that's fundamentally wrong.
That's just a few. As of this recording, 21 states are rebelling in some way against Biden's vaccine mandate. Biden's response?
Have at it.
Yes, Daddy, I've been a bad boy. Oh. Now keep in mind, there are plenty of people who are pro-vaccine, but who don't want mandates, including Republican governors like Ron DeSantis, who have consistently told people to get vaccinated. The former executive vice president of the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, says Biden scolding and threatening Americans who resist vaccines will only infuriate them to resist. Agree they should get vaccinated, but this is the wrong way to do it. Act like a leader, not a petulant dad. Yeah, we don't want a petulant dad. We want a petulant mommy. But there are other concerns that Biden's vaccine mandate will hurt businesses. A Washington Post ABC News poll found that 72% of unvaccinated workers would quit if they weren't given an exemption to opt out of the vaccine mandate. That's a good way to hurt the economy. And while the OSHA rule will allow companies to just test unvaccinated employees weekly, the cost could be too much for small businesses to handle. Now, as I have said in the past, vaccines do work. We're not saying that you should refuse vaccines. You do have a much higher chance of not getting a serious case of COVID if you're vaccinated. This is especially important now that the more contagious Delta variant is making up 99% of all coronavirus cases. But the question isn't whether to get vaccinated. Many of the critics against Biden aren't vaccine skeptics or anti-vaxxers. In fact, a lot of them are already vaccinated. Our own staff are vaccinated. The main issue is how we're getting people vaccinated. Biden is showing total disregard for individual freedom. Whether people who don't get vaccinated are right or wrong, shouldn't a free country like America allow that choice? What do you think? Should vaccines be federally mandated? Leave your comments below. And if you like the show, please know we could not do it without direct support from viewers like you. Visit patreon.com/AmericaUncovered and contribute $1 or more per episode to help us keep the show going. And don't worry, we're not mandating you do it. We're asking you to support us voluntarily. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.